Hi guys, welcome back. Today it's time for another recent reads video, and it's been a while, mostly because I haven't been reading that much. I will tell you about books that I started reading before Christmas, and I honestly haven't read much more else since. So I've been feeling a bit reading slumpy. I'll talk you through the books I did read, however, and we'll talk shortly about some of the books that I started reading a few days ago, and I hope I'm getting back into the reading swing. But let's jump in and start with the first book from this batch that I finished, and it was in December. And that is another one of Evelyne Brisou-Pellen's books for young kids from the Garantrousse series, set in 1356, this one. I have been enjoying getting back into these books, but this one is one of the weakest one in my opinion, at least from my rereading experience now. This is set in Avignon, which is in the south of France. It's strongly based in the world of the Pope that was reigning there. And maybe you know something about this, but the Avignon Pope was like kind of a countercurrent to the one in Rome at some point in the Middle Ages. And it is set at the court of the Pope in Avignon, and Garin is thrust into there because he meets this man on a horse who gives him this missive that apparently is very important that he has to bring there, but he doesn't know what's in there. And when he arrives at the palace, he starts seeing very strange things happening. There is a suspicion of maybe someone wanting to poison the Pope, and so there's a lot of interesting tidbits and facts I didn't know about concerning this part of history and this part of the Christian religion. But in general, the mystery, like this maybe poisoning mystery, just wasn't strong enough for me to really want me to keep reading page after page. So I took quite a long while to get through this one compared to the other ones that I've read so far, which is a bit of a shame. But nevertheless, I'm still going to continue reading these books whenever I feel like I need something comforting and fun and easy to read. So after New Year's, I still felt really slumpy and I hadn't read anything throughout the whole Christmas time. So I borrowed a book from a friend of mine, hoping that this book would give me some kind of like humor and like comedic relief. And that was John Cleese's, it's really shiny and bright, sorry, John Cleese's kind of memoir called So Anyway. It kind of piqued my interest because I recently rewatched Monty Python's last tour and last concert thing that they did at the O2 in London, and kind of rediscovered my love for this kind of really absurdist comedic style. So when I saw that my friend had this book lying around, I wanted to give it a shot. I didn't have many expectations about it. I ended up thinking it was okay. I was still somehow hoping to be positively surprised by it. I was mainly hoping to get a bit more about John Cleese, more on the personal level, but he stays very distant in this book, I think. What I did find interesting is how he talks about his childhood, and there I think he was way more open about it, and he obviously gave a lot of thought to stuff that he had been experiencing there, his relationship with his parents, and connecting to that is also him discussing a lot about like how British society was after the Second World War and how traumatized it was first, but also how separations of class was very, very much prevalent. And him coming from like, I think he calls it upper middle class. It was a very crazy thing for him to be able to go to Cambridge, and then this kicked off his love for comedy and how he then pursued his career. That was a part that I found very interesting. But yeah, I mean, I would have liked more about it. So in general, he has a very funny writing style. I mean, if you know the Monty Python sketches, I mean, some of them are completely written by him, so you really get this fun, quirky, absurdist style in the way he writes this memoir too. But while it was funny, I was hoping for more depth and more insight in himself as a person. And especially towards the end, it's a lot about just how his career went from one step to the next and which projects he was involved in. So if this is something you're interested in general, this book is really good for that. But yeah, I was hoping for a bit more of the personal lens, and I didn't get that. So yeah, that was a shame. But you know, on the other hand, I didn't have big expectations either. So this kind of entertained me. It was okay. And yeah, just a fun ride. Finally, the other 6 books now that I've read are all part of a series, and I started reading them in the end of November, together with Laurent from the channel Reading with Macar. And we started rereading, I guess, for both of us, the Chronicles of Narnia series by C.S. Lewis. I'm just showing book 5 and 6 because that was the 2 last ones that I read. But yeah, I've been reading them throughout the last month and a half, it's even more now, always with some spaces in between, partly because that was the only thing I had headspace for. But it's definitely wonderful to read it together with Laurent because we both have this kind of nostalgia about it, and it's interesting to discuss with her how that nostalgia can clash with how we're reading these books now, and yeah, how we're reading it as adults, but also as, you know, people who've seen a bit of the world and been exposed to the world a bit more. So that's definitely really interesting. In terms of favorites for now, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is still very much a favorite of mine, as well as The Silver Chair, which I'm really happy about, that I still really enjoyed it because that's the one I remember being my favorite from when I was a kid. There's a lot of things to unpack from this series when you read it as an adult, because obviously there's things that feel very dated. Laurent and I are also talking a lot about the female characters in there and how some of them feel very dated, but how some of them still have kind of a modern touch, and it was kind of interesting to see. Obviously there's also, you know, you can read it without seeing it or noticing it, but there is a big influence from Christianity to these texts, and you know, as a Christian, I can't read it and not see it. Like, there's always some interesting parallels. Although I now, in the way that I feel right now, feel also a bit conflicted about some of the theological stuff he puts in there and how sometimes it can be a bit too black and white for me. But I was still happy to see that I can still read these books and notice all these things and discuss them, but it doesn't take away my enjoyment of it. And I can still, you know, put them aside in one part of my brain and also read the books for what they are, which is fun children books about different children who travel to this magical world of Narnia and discover things about the world, but also discover things about themselves and how they want to grow up, how they want to live their life when they leave this magical world. And just in general, rereading these books is a real joy. And I basically just have that one last book of the series left. Don't know when I will read it. I don't feel like I'm quite ready to take on the last book just now, but it will probably happen in the next weeks and months. So that's basically what I've been reading since like December, November, which isn't a lot. As I've said, for that same reason, the reason feeling slumpy, I haven't set myself any reading goals for now. I haven't often felt like reaching for a book in the last few weeks, and I started feeling like I wanted to read again since a few days now, so I'm just going to quickly tell you which book I've been starting. Firstly, a book that at last I've picked up is Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. I'm not very much far into it. I think just like 30 pages in. And so far I'm enjoying it. It's this mystery book within the mystery book, and in the beginning we follow this woman who is an editor, and she talks about this script from this mystery writer that she has in her hands and wants to recount to us as readers, and she is saying very mysterious things about this script, that it really changed her life in a really strange and unexpected way. And for now, what I've been reading is mostly the script, which is itself a crime story that is set in a small town in Britain, and it gives me so much of the St. Mary Mead feels from Agatha Christie, so the little town that Miss Marple lives in, and an elderly woman is found dead on the bottom of her stairs. It looks like either she fell or she was pushed down, and it seems like she was quite a busybody and was interested in a lot of people's business in the town. So that's definitely quite intriguing, and I'm really looking forward to continuing this. And the other book I've been reading on my commute to work is Becoming by Michelle Obama, which I'm listening on audio. I'm quite enjoying it as well. I like the conversational style. It is kind of chronological, which I kind of enjoy. I sometimes get frustrated when memoirs are like jumping very heavily in time, but that's just a personal preference. So I kind of enjoy this style, and I enjoy her insight about growing up in working class neighborhood in Chicago. So yeah, also looking forward to hearing more of her story. So yeah, that's it. That's what I've been up to reading wise, aka not much. How has your reading been going at the beginning of the year? Did you have a good January reading? And yeah, tell me maybe some of your highlights for now the first month of the year that has passed. Let me know what you've been up to reading wise. And yeah, in the meantime, I hope you're reading great books, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!